uzizwa ngathi ayikho into engakudlula emhlabeni.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
That's like a machine. He's won 9 goals in the doozy. Next year I want to do the race. Maybe I can do it with you. Why don't you partner with this Duma kid? I mean, he's seriously talented. Should have seen him when he was younger. Didn't we used to call you something? Helicopter. Hey, helicopter. This guy is good, man. He just needs a break. What's up, man?
Hey man, noza ngitshele one thing, Mr. Canoe. Ucanga ukuthi uzoba grand. Uyozofela la.
Phela thina mesidla uBansley thina kubamba athletes.
Umuntu ufuna ukuphila impilo yakho ngesibanga.
Ngitobona man! Usho ukuthi wena ufuna umngane ozokuthatha lise phezulu. Akubuyisa kushayise phansi wena etakeni.
What are you doing, Jobo? And what do you want to do?
I want to be a somebody. It's me, Prastiv, it's Duma.
I wanted to talk about canoeing.
We can try. I'm not saying it's going to work or anything. We can try.
All right, so it tells the story of two men whose quest to win gold connects them on and beyond the river and is based on the story of Piers, Cruikshanks of Dabulamanzi Canoe Club and Siseko, Ntondini of the Soweto Canoe and Recreation Club. That's South Africa's new film titled Beyond the River, starring Lemogang Tsipa, Grant Swanby, Twala and Israel Makoe. Beyond the River hits the big screens on the 28th of April. And we've invited Craig Freimond, who is the director and writer of this new film, to tell us more. Good morning. Welcome to Morning Love. How are you doing?
Good to be here.
I mean, this looks like such a feel-good story, you know, of genuinely South African good story. Tell us a little bit about a brief synopsis of what's about.
So we were approached by these two guys who had been through this experience together. They were canoeists. And they had a pretty amazing story competing in the doozy, which is this incredibly grueling canoe race, 125 kilometers on river from Pietermaritzburg to Durban, 30 kilometers of running, 85 kilometers of canoeing. Don't do the maths on that. And they'd had this experience and they approached us as filmmakers and said, do you think it's a story? And we said, well, it's kind of is an interesting story. And we took it and we obviously dramatized the characters a bit more. And the story just took well because it's kind of got the spine of a sports drama, but in actual fact we managed to give it a lot of drama, a lot of lightness, and it just, as you said, feel good. I think we spend so much time feeling bad in South Africa. It's quite nice to have a very inspiring story that is real and that actually sort of pushes us a little bit further, you know.
Talk to us about casting Piers and Siseko, looking just for the right kind of guys to play these characters.
So obviously it was a huge challenge because they had to canoe. So we had this thing, do we cast canoeists who can act? Or do we cast actors who can canoe? Of which there weren't many. There was one, Paul du Toit, who is in the film as well. But we eventually found actors who were prepared to go on that journey, Grant and Lemo, who had to learn to canoe 3 months before we started shooting. They'd never canoed in their life.
Man.
3 months before learning to canoe, incredible commitment, you know, absolutely incredible. And then, of course, taking them, putting them in rivers that they'd never been in before. And, of course, both parts required enormous acting skills, emotion, quite an emotional story. Unusually sort of emotional. I think when you'll see the film, you'll see what I mean. It's got a kind of emotion on a whole bunch of levels. So I needed these actors who could really go there, and they did, and they were very athletic as well, very strong physical actors. You know, here in South Africa we shoot rough. You know, we say back to the top of the rapids, go, let's go.
Let's talk about this relationship between these two, Piers and Siseko, and Grant and Lemogang as well. How it what do these two men have in common, and what if brings them together?
Well, I think the point of the story is they have nothing in common, and sport, as we know in South Africa, is a kind of a conduit to bring us together in the same way that, say, music is. It's a kind of a universal language, so that we might not know that much about each other, but because we know about the sport, we have something to connect us. But that's just the starting point of the story. So they know what they're trying to achieve, but they don't know anything about each other. And throughout the course of the story, that is what they have to do, is to canoeing, particularly when there's two of you in the boat, it's all about synchronicity between the two of you. I don't know if you've seen them. You have to be 100% in sync. You're almost, like they say in the film, you almost have to become like one person. So the sort of conceit is that, how do we do that? We can't do that by just saying, "Hey, how are you?" in the morning, and we have to understand why is he upset today? What's going on? So it's a story about these two guys who gradually get to know, through quite radical circumstances, sort of more and more about each other, and so that they become a team. Not just on a surface level, but on a quite deep level, that they become friends, and they start appreciating the difficulties in both of their lives,
So Piers and Siseko come to you and say, "This is what we'd like you to do." What's been their reaction to what you've translated to what they told you?
Well, it's been a fascinating journey for them, because as Piers always says, one of the first things we said to him was, the story's great, but your character's a bit boring.
Yeah.
So as dramatists, what we have to do is take the characters to the worst place they can go. We can't just have normal people. We have to have people with abnormal challenges. So I think that at first it was quite shocking for them, because even though it's based on Piers and Siseko, we let that go.
Yeah.
It becomes about Duma and Steve, and Piers and Siseko, as we say, it's inspired by.
Yeah.
And we let go of that story. But I do think it was quite a radical experience for them. When they saw a first cut of the film, and they realize how different it is to them, but they can still see their story through in
there
it.
somewhere.
But they love it. I mean, they love it now, but it was a bit of a challenge.
All right. Craig, thank you so much. Let's be closer to the release of the album, the full. Craig Freimond,
28th of April.
Director and writer of New Hotlines film titled Beyond the River, which was inspired by the true story of two of this year's doozy top contenders and previous champions. All right, let's take a quick ad break. We'll give you sports news after this. Stay with us.